The fallen giants are back on their feet.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the 1 to 11 Kits podcast with me, Shaun. I've got the AFC Kit Geek with me, John, and I'm very, very, very proud to welcome that we've got Garry Thompson on with us tonight. Hi Gary, how are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, good. How's parents' evening, John?
Yeah, school's always good fun. Yeah, always enjoy it. But I have to say, even more better to have an ex-Villa player. It's a nice end to the day, really. It's been a long day, but it's a good end to talk to someone who's worn the very climate and blue.
I thought we'd start off just with some obviously up-to-date stuff, Gary. How's lockdown been and how's COVID? How have you coped, mate?
Yes, it's been okay. It happened really quickly because there was rumours it was going to happen. We were going to get locked down. Then all of a sudden, bang, that was it. My missus went picked my daughter up from London, brought her back just in time, and then we were stuck in the house I never left the house for 7 weeks. They left to do a bit of shopping. To be honest, I loved it because I do the radio, or I do the driving the cars, or I'm doing Q&A. So I'm out most evenings. So to have a few weeks at home and play FIFA and watch TV and watch films, and it was great. But after a few weeks, you've got to get back out into it. Yeah.
Are you any good on FIFA?
I like to say I was different class. Like I'm top drawer. My lad will tell you I'm crap.
Do you actually think it makes a difference being an ex-player on FIFA?
No, not really. I mean, you obviously know formations and you can work out how to change things or whatever. But it's all about your dexterity with your fingers, isn't it? And my lad is very, very good. He can do all the turns and all that. And he does bamboozle me a little bit at times. So I don't play him too often anymore because I can't stand the crowing.
Funnily enough, obviously you played for a plethora of clubs throughout your career. But I'm right in thinking you grew up an Aston Villa fan. Is that correct?
Yeah. When I was a kid, my uncle Charlie turned up at the house one day and took me off for the day. And I must have been a right pest because my mum must have said, just get him out of the house. And we got a couple of buses because I used to live in Kings Heath, and got a couple of buses, which is actually Blue Nose territory.
I know that.
Ended up at Villa Park, had a nice day, watched the game, and we was right low down, and I'm almost at ground level. I just started playing football then, so I'd be 8 or 9, and I thought I quite like this because I was quite close to the action. And then every now and again, when we behaved ourselves, my dad would take me and my brother. My dad was always a big Villa fan. I think when they came over from the West Indies, I think my dad, because always played football, loved football, he'd go and watch Blues one week and Villa the next. But obviously, then the advent of motorways, it became really tribal. So people started following their teams up and down. And my old man just decided he was supporting Villa. I went to watch Villa play Santos. He took me and my brother after school one day, saw that game, and that was me done. I was a Villa fan from there on. It was game over. And from there on, when Pele come over.
Oh, wow.
That was my first, because obviously we'd seen the 70 World Cup, and then obviously a couple of years later, we'd come from school one day, and my dad was there, and he just said, "Bang, we're off," because my dad worked at British Rail in Longbridge, so he was never in before 5, and all of a sudden we got back from school about 4 o'clock, and he was there, and he just went, "We got changed." He went, "Come on, we're off." Never said we were going.
Amazing.
Got ourselves down there, went down there, and I was Pele. It was absolutely fantastic for a young kid then to see that. It was just game over. I was a proper
they've obviously got some famous kits themselves. Santos, haven't they? The beautiful white kit is always iconic, and the Santos badge itself is iconic. And you can it's one of their shirts from miles off, especially the 70s design with Pele on. Really iconic photos. And so who was? I imagine he was one of your heroes growing up then.
Yeah, I mean, at that age you're really impressionable anyway. But I saw obviously there wasn't a lot of football on the telly. So you'd watch the cup final, and you'd milk every inch of it, because from 9 o'clock it would be like meet the teams in the hotel, and you'd have the lead up to the cup final, the games they played and all that. So we just sit in front of the TV, and we loved all of that. So when we could see a bit of live football, and we got a chance to go and see Santos, and you saw Pele play, who had seen the 70 World Cup, like Rivellino, Jorginho, and all them, to see him in the flesh, that was game over. And I mean, I can't even remember that Villa won the game, but apparently they won the game. The floodlights went off, and they won the game. Bit of school don't read that, but that was me done and dusted as a Villa fan.
We'll have to see if we can dig any clips of that out, John, and we'll put something in at this period when we put it on for everyone to watch. Santos and Pele playing Aston Villa, incredible. I can imagine it was an incredible incredible memory. So that was obviously how you started to support Aston Villa, but you never ended up starting your career with Aston Villa. Did you ever get an approach?
Well, I went to I was at a school called Bramwood School with a guy called Paul Dyson, who ended up playing at Coventry. So Coventry took Paul down. They'd seen us play a few times, never really decided to take me. Then he said to him one day, "You got any decent mates?" And he said, "Myself and a lad called Malcolm Percival." So we both went down for a trial. I loved it. Percy loved it as well, but he couldn't stand training day in, day out. They invited me down for the summer holidays. So for 6 weeks, all I did was train, run around, play football, score goals, and eat. And it was like being a proper professional, if you know what I mean. I was training with the young pros. So I loved it. At the age of 14, 15, ended up playing in the reserves. And then Aston Villa, they spoke to me dad. But by then I agreed to sign schoolboy forms. And my dad's very, very strict like that. Once he'd give his word, it was done. So Villa came to me again when I think they bought Peter Widd and they bought David Geddes. But there's rumours that time they were trying to get myself as well. I think Andy Blair had just gone there, but nothing really come of it. And then the third time lucky, they signed me. They tried to sign me when I was at West Brom, and I ended up going to Sheffield Wednesday. And because West Brom just would not sell me to Villa because I never realised, but being a Villa fan and playing for Coventry or West Brom, everybody hates the Villa. And you play for your club, and they're like, "Let's do these." And everybody just hated them. And I realised that the Albion wouldn't sell me to Villa. They were going to sell me because they needed the money. But I ended up down to Sheffield Wednesday. Then finally, I get the chance to. I think it was after the '86 World Cup. Howard Wilkinson rings me and he says, "We've had an offer from a club." And he says, "You can go or you can stay." Now, I was his record signing. If he'd have said, "Look, big man, first year at me brilliant, but we can do this, we can do that," then I'd have to think twice about it. But the moment he said, "It's Aston Villa," game over. So I went down, had a conversation with Doug Ellis and Ron Wiley in Doug's house. Wow. And I said, "Oh, where's the manager?" And he said, "Don't worry about that." We should have been the first clue there was something funny going on. But I signed anyway. I was always going to sign. Doug Ellis said apparently it's one of the quickest deals he ever did. They said, "This is the money. This is what you're going to get." And I just said, "Yeah, I'll sign." And that was it. I signed for Villa. Little realising I was just about to enter the worst year football-wise and injury-wise in my career. But I got to play for the team I supported. So in one way, we played Spurs the first game of the season. I think we got beat at Villa Park. But for me dad and his mates and everybody who was Villa fans, it was like a proud moment, even though we got beaten. Yeah.
I can imagine. John,
what would you like to sort of have a sit down with Doug Ellis? I mean, being a Villa fan, obviously knew who he was. What would you like to just sort of sit and have a chat with?
I've met Doug over the years. So when I went at West Brom, Ron Wiley has known Doug for years. So every now and again, if we did functions, he'd say, "Oh, just come with me." And we'd go to Doug's house and we'd have a chat with him. And he was always a nice fella. He had a tendency to tell you how much money he made or how rich he was and all that. But I think rich people do that. So he seemed a decent geezer. When I actually signed for Villa, after the year we got relegated, I had a bad injury and he came to me and offered me, I think he offered me and Gary Shaw 20 grand to retire. And we were like, "Well, why would we do that?" Because my contract was worth more than that. I had about 3 years left. I said, "Well, why would I do that?" "Well, we're not a wealthy club, Gary, and it's not gone really well, and maybe you should step away from it." And like, I'm a Villa fan. We got relegated. I'm taking dog's abuse. As you can imagine, a local lad, me and Shuri, we're getting hammered. So we want to stay and put it right. So there's no intention. I was going to get myself fit and hopefully get us back into the top league, as it were. But Doug, he had a reputation for being a bit slippery at times, and that never changed. But he always had Villa at heart. And when he sold the club, and we were one of the few clubs that were in the black, as it were, because we could have done what a load of other clubs did, spent a load of money, brought a load of players in, and then he looked not like a doing a Leeds, ended up being a second championship or whatever. Doug ran it properly. He ran it like a football club. He made ends meet. I mean, Richard Sydenham's wrote a book about how Villa won the Champions League or European Cup 5 years later to get relegated. Now, the book is fantastic because it covers all aspects of what happened. And I recommend that book to anybody. Richard's a mate of mine anyway, because when he rang me to say, "Oh, let's go and do this," I was like, "Hang on a minute, you want to do an interview regarding when we got relegated? So you're starting off at the top, and then all of a sudden it's going to be, we signed Garry Thompson, Martin Keown, Neil Cooper, bang. I said, I'm not having that. But when I chatted with him, it was cool about the whole thing. Like I said, as long as you put the resurrection in, when single-handedly we got the club back into the top league, and it was great. But yeah, I mean, Doug was a slippery character at times, but always Villa on his mind, always doing the best he could for Aston Villa. And people fell out with him. I fell out with him, but he did the best for the football club. He didn't do the best for Doug Ellis. A lot of chairmen look after themselves. Doug Ellis, I feel, did the best for the football club.
I suppose sometimes you can't please everyone, can you?
Well,
in high positions like that. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Just taking you back to Coventry, there was a particular kit that I wanted to talk about because it's incredibly famous.
Chocolate brown.
Yeah. Really famous for being so incredibly bad. What did you make of that one when you saw it?
Well, Jimmy Hill, a bit like Doug, entrepreneur, innovator, always thinking, always getting ideas and make money for the club and just different ideas. So he comes up with this idea one day because we've got a load of young kids, the likes of Paul Dyson, Andy Blair, Gary Gillespie, Gary Bannister, myself, Bodak, Stevie Young. We're all in the team, and obviously there's a bit of noise about us, and he wants to make it even bigger. So the Coventry thing, we had a sky blue one, but it was with a T, and the T was sponsored by Talbot, obviously. So we got Talbot cars. So the sky blue one was nice. They had a red one, which was quality. They had a yellow one, which was good as well. And then one day, I think it was Leicester City away, we've walked in the dressing room, and in fact, the first time they wore it, they played West Brom, and the manager, Gordon Milner, dropped me that weekend, and I played in the reserves, and they wore the chocolate strip and got beat 7-1, I think it was. So we thought we'd never use that kit again.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks later, I'm back in the team, walked into the dressing room, and myself and Danny Thomas walked in the dressing room. We're the only two black lads walk in the dressing room, and I saw what Herbie, the kit man, had hung up, and I went to the gaffer, there's no way I'm going out in that. And I went, big man, it's just a kit, just put it on. And I'm like, this is stupid. Can you not see what's going to happen? And they were going, this is silly. And the lads, they're killing themselves laughing because they know what's going to happen. By the time you go out and do your warm-up, and I was never a great one for warming up anyway. You'd know that if you see the way I walk now, because I do hobble about. But they did a bit of a warm-up. I faffed about a bit. When we walked out and we took our tops off, and then you could hear everything went quiet for a bit. Then there was a couple of, I can see some teeth, and people just laughing and all that. And Danny were like, oh, dear God, this is going to be horrendous. And like, obviously, because a dressing room fans, then it was banter flying around. It wasn't racist banter or whatever. It was banter flying around. Do just get on with the game. But from that moment, I hated the chocolate strip. And like, it's like if you hear someone talk, they'll say chocolate brown, but obviously it's brown because it's chocolate. But it was one of them that I didn't like. I was like, because all I could think was, I'm going to get embarrassed in this kit. But
I think
we wore it a few times, and now it's an iconic kit. Everybody loves it. I did a thing with Gillespie. I think it was last year, just before lockdown, and he'd been on Twitter, and he was saying it's one of his favourite kits. And like, then they asked me, Liverpool Radio, they asked me to come on, and they spoke to Gary about it. Then I've come on, and I went, to be honest, Gilly, I can see you coming out of defence with a ball, dribbling past a couple of people, spraying the ball, Alan Hansen. But you got to remember, I'm running around as a black man with a Grace Jones haircut in a chocolate strip. It ain't a good look. And Gilly, like, he just thought it was brilliant, like. But I mean, it was an iconic kit. It was different, and it was a kit that everybody still knows to this day. So
they do, don't they?
Yeah. In a way, I can't feel bad about it because it was a hell of a kit, and it put us on the map. People always still speak about it.
100%. Admiral at the time were, the kings of football kits then, weren't they? There was no Nike and Adidas and that. These guys were doing everyone, and that is one of the main ones that sticks in my mind for one of the most famous kits that's ever been. And it's incredible that you got to have a chance to wear it. You can't find it now for love nor money to find an authentic one of them.
It's a collector's item, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And then obviously, from Coventry, as you said, you moved on to Sheffield, and then finally you get to come to your home club.
No, I went from Coventry to West Brom.
Oh, sorry, West Brom. Sorry, Brom. Yeah.
And then West Brom, I did a quick year in Sheffield. Yeah, I played with Big C and that. And I mean, to be fair, West Brom had some lovely kits as well. Like, I mean, the stripe one, there was one with a cigarette with a line through it, the no smoking one. But the yellow kits, the West Brom away kits were quality. The bright yellow ones and that they were good kits and that lovely kits. Obviously, I played with Cyril, played with Derek Statham, possibly the best footballer I've ever played with. We had a very, very good team. Went to Sheffield Wednesday. Their kit is more. It's more what you'd associate with Sheffield Wednesday anyway. You know what I mean? It wasn't anything spectacular. But then I got a chance to play for Villa and wear them kits like.
Yeah, it was a Umbro V-neck.
Yeah.
We're asking in Taylor, do the players care about what kit they're playing, like, or do just like I'm a professional footballer, I'm playing football, or do the players sort of talk about the kits and sort of actually have an opinion and really care about it?
I think there are obviously you can't have 40 people at the club without some people being not nerds but right into certain things and others not being bothered. Most players, as long as they're on the team, they're playing, then that's the most important thing. After that, you start looking at other aspects like. But then you would have some kits like, I think I mentioned the Denmark one that Villa had. Like when we wore that, and then today then I'm going to be Preben Alkmaar, and like we all want to be a certain player and all that. You know, want to be the lads, we're going to do this and that, and you'd be like being a kid again because you wear a kit, but you're actually playing. If you know what I mean. So it was special. It was different. But there were some kits when you walk. You go in the dressing room on a Saturday and say you go in at 1:30. You go in the dressing room and say your number's up there, like, and your boots are there and you know you're playing. The manager already does his team talk, so you know you're there, but you see the boots and that, and it just takes you to another level. You're ready to go to work, as it were, but you got a chance to do something you want to do. So the kit walking in the dressing room is always one of the best moments because you kind of know the team anyway. And some managers didn't used to tell you the team until you walked into the dressing room. But if you clocked your boots and the number, then you. In them days, never had like the names on the kit or anything, so it just be the number. And like,
you were number 9 most of the time, right?
Well,
Villa.
When I was at Coventry, I was a 9, and everywhere I played, I am a number 9. But I went to West Brom, and not for some reason, Cyril Regis he was the number 9, so I ended up wearing 8 at West Brom. I wore 8 or Sheffield Wednesday, I think. It might be a couple of 9s. Lee Chapman wore 9 as well. Went to Villa. I think I was number 9 at Villa a little bit, but then as I moved, I think I went to Cardiff in the end. Well, I got sent off one day at Cardiff. Someone showed me the picture the other day. I had a 7 on my back. Which I'm like, because I'm like my lad, very strange about number. If you're 7, you think, well, he's wide right or something.
Cristiano Ronaldo,
Exactly. You don't associate. But nowadays, because of the numbers and the squad numbers and that, it's sometimes different. Like, but for me, the numbers say where you're going to play. Like they say, the right 9, centre forward, 5, centre half. You kind of know 2, 4 back, and that's an old school way of looking at things. But that's the way I've always seen things. You know what I
mean? 100%. Well, when you first get here, you obviously got to wear both of these shirts. Henson, Icelandic company, different badge. What do you make of these as an Aston Villa fan?
Well, obviously wearing the Villa kit was brilliant anyway. And I do like the 2, but at the 2, you'd take the yellow one because it was bright and it was different. Like, and obviously that's synonymous with playing away from home. And I think the year we played in it and we got relegated, like I think we played at Liverpool and we drew 3-3. And if I remember correctly, we took the lead 3 times. They equalised 3 times. If they'd have been 5 minutes later, they'd have beat us 4-3. And we came off the pitch, and I remember Steve Hunt and a couple of others. We all come into blows because we'd been to Anfield, which was a hell of a place to go in them days.
Yeah,
and we should have won the game. And that's when you kind of know things was going against you. But I remember, I mean, wearing a kit like that, playing at Anfield and playing well, and that you sort of stays with you. You know what I mean? So that was a strange one because we actually went to Anfield and took the lead 3 times, and luckily got away with a point.
It's strange, isn't it? That it doesn't have a badge of any sort. It's just literally got the initials. That there's no Villa badge on it, isn't it? That one, which is odd, really.
It's unusual because when people have kits, you have the badge because you want the fans to buy it, and it's synonymous with your club and that. Like, so it's strange that you wouldn't have anything. You know what I mean? I know people want different ideas and want to be novel and all that, but as a football club, you walk into Villa Park, and what do you see? You see the badge of the club and all that. You see everything. So you would imagine the kit would show that as well.
It is pretty mad. And obviously, I imagine at the time, the fans probably didn't love it too much because we obviously got relegated in it. But I know nowadays it's iconic. And and people love this kit now, the home and the away.
It's a quality kit. I mean, like you
Yeah.
say, at the time, you would associate with relegation. You would associate with I would not a bad team, a team that was a good bunch of players, wasn't used collectively properly, and ended up getting relegated without trace. From what I remember, it wasn't as if we had half a chance. This team was going down. There was no organisation. Everything was set up wrong, but the kit was quality. I mean, when I see that kit, the first person I think of is Paul Elliott, because he'd wear it because I obviously centre forward. I'm looking back, having a go at them for letting in yet another goal, and they'd be shouting at me for not scoring goals. So, but all you'd see is that kit,
I can imagine. But yeah, from a design perspective, the results weren't great. I think nowadays it's redeemed itself purely from a design. It's so different than anything they'd make nowadays, isn't it? And it's a nice, simple design. I like this kit a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's clean, it's simple, but it does the job. As soon as you look at it, you know. It takes you right. Yeah, that's Aston Villa, and you straight away you think of probably the relegation year. But it's a lovely top. To be fair.
What do you make of this one, John? What would you give this one out of 10?
See, my issue with this is the badge being sort of a sort of traditionalist. I love the yellow one. I've got all I have is the yellow one that when the people at Henson remade them, the people at Henson did another batch of them. So I haven't got one of the original ones, but I've got one of the remakes. I agree with Gary. The away for me has it by a long way. I don't like the claret on the home. If I'm being a real nerdy bit about it, I think the claret's it's a bit dark. It almost
it's actually darker than the normal claret you get. You know what I mean?
Almost.
If we put it against something like that.
Yeah, it is definitely a lot darker, isn't it?
So I would probably put the home at a 5, and maybe the away up there, maybe a bit of a 6.5, 7 from my point of view.
I don't
like that much because I don't like the claret on it, and I don't like not having a badge. I don't like not having a badge personally. What about you?
Right. Well, I'm gonna give them a bit higher than that because it's like when I look at this, it's proper 80s, isn't it? You can imagine the short shorts, not like 90s shorts or 90 baggy tops. Really slender, slim fit before nowadays Kappa slim fit, and I'm liking these V-neck. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 for both. I think they're good kits. Obviously, the performances weren't to the same level as the kit, but a great kit. And luckily, I wasn't alive then to witness this. But we'll go on to actually my favourite Aston Villa kit of all time, and I'm so jealous that you got to wear this, Gary.
I was disagreeing. I was talking to you about off camera that Shaun loved this kit.
It's Promotional.
This is
great.
Denmark. Any team that was lucky enough to get this, you think of Coventry, Denmark, Aston Villa, Southampton, and it was a great design, wasn't it? It was one of the first kits where they got sort of like screen printing into the kit. I remember in '86. I imagine it was so different to everything else that any national team was wearing.
It's a quality kit. I mean, just as you say, the Denmark. Everyone thinks of it as Denmark and Aston Villa. You just straight away synonymous with that, but it was a lovely kit. It was a good feel about it as well, and it was the kit we wore when we got promoted. So you get a good feeling from it because you won games in it. I mean, I never got back into the team till I think November. I've been out for say 11 months with an injury. I've been carrying it for a while. Had the operation, came back, and I came back. They were already wearing this kit, and like the likes of Steve Sims would be wearing it, Warren Aspen and all them. And so I'll come back and scored a few goals. So that kit's always got good memories for me.
Well, you scored two. You scored an important goal at St Andrews in this one, didn't you? Which I've been able to find some footage of. Yeah, both of them. Yeah.
We played the day at the Blues game. It was people was building up because it's a massive game. Me and Shuri, 6 months before, but 3 months before, we're both injured. So we watched Villa play at home against Blues, and we got beat. I think it was 2-1. And that day we saw grown players like wilt under the pressure of representing Aston Villa in a local derby. And so, and then the funny thing, to end it, me and Shuri were sitting in one of the boxes in the North Stand, and the Blues fans clocked who Shuri was because obviously he's blonde, he's good looking and all that, and they gave him pelters. And I was just a black kid in the corner. No one it would bother with me, but you're in it. They hammered him, but it stayed with us. And when I got the chance to play down at the Blues, before the game, he's given us our jobs. We knew what we had to do. We worked on it all week. There was no before a derby. Normally, there's butterflies, anxious, you can't wait to get out there. We were quite composed in what we were trying to do. And then I think Gagey, by the way, Gagey's dined out on these 2 crosses for ever since 30-something years. Gagey throws the first one in. I think if Vince Overson tries to kick the ball or go for the ball, he maybe clears it. But I've dived across him, got diving header, scored after. It's about 5-6 minutes because a lot of Villa fans hadn't got in the ground by then. There was the massive queues.
Still arguing and fighting. Yeah. Still arguing and fighting outside.
Yeah. And then I think
then they get one back. Yeah.
They equalised, and then the Blues fans, was singing rude songs about my wife and this and that. So obviously, when Gagey and Lily worked a ball between them, or Birchie whipped the ball across, I've headed it in, and that's the one Gagey tries to get credit for, but he had snow on it. I've done unbelievably well to get near it, but then I've walked up to the Blues fans, giving them plenty. So yeah, happy days.
I mean, that must imagine to do that. Just score the winner as a Villa fan. You see Gabby living it. You see Grealish living it now.
Yeah.
Do it as a Villa fan. It must just be insane.
It was brilliant because as well, after me and Shorey were loving it as well, because obviously we're local boys. We've done the game straight away. Get dressed. We're off out in the town. So I think we ended up on Broad Street and that. So we go to this bar. I think it was called Edwards at the time. Little wine bar. Go in there. We're standing in the corner. We're just having a drink and just. When you play the game and that, you're knackered, but your head's going, so you can't sleep. So we go for a couple of beers, some wine, and that, chatting away. And then one of the bouncers comes over and says, "Look, lads, do us a favour, will you? We can't guarantee your safety. You're gonna have to get yourself out of here." And by now, I'd had a couple of drinks, and I was like, "Lads, it's only a game. At the end of the day, you play against us. You know what you're gonna get." And I've gone a bit over the top, to be fair. And then he basically threw us out because it was gonna get rowdy.
I think everyone would have been the same. If you just scored 2 goals, you're going to be full of confidence, aren't you? Be loving it. I would be.
2 at St Andrews. When can you get carried away?
Just slightly, yeah. I mean, I can get carried away at the slightest thing anyway, but 2 at St Andrews game over
Yeah, I can imagine.
Not only did you get to wear, the beautiful home kit, but you also got to wear this banger as well, the away kit. I think for a lot of people, they love this one even more. But both iconic designs. Is there any games that stick out in your mind with this one?
You'd have to check this, but I'm sure I've got to do a podcast next week for WM, and they're doing famous games and all that. And I think that we played Bradford away, and we beat them 4-2, and Bradford had beat us 4-5-0 in the Simod Cup a few weeks before. That was my first game back after injury. We signed Stuart Gray and Andy Gray on the Thursday. They both played on the Saturday. Stuart scored 2 goals. I got 1, and I got an assist for one of Stuart's goals. But that was the day when me and Stuart have done the 2-1-2s. He's bent it in the top corner. I'm sitting on the floor, and I'm laughing, and Birchie's with me. And we both know we've got the final piece in the jigsaw. This team's going to go up. So that kit always reminds me of that, that game against Bradford. I watched it the other day on YouTube because obviously I was supposed to be doing this podcast, but I watched it, and that kit just reminds me that day we going up. I mean, in the end, if you look at the fixtures, we half nearly blew it, but we got up. But that day when they signed Stuart and Andy Gray, they were the final piece in the jigsaw, and then I felt yes, we're going right back. We're going to go up.
Amazing. What do you make of this one, John? Do you prefer this to the home?
I do. I do like a white sort of base shirt. I do like both. I do like both. We were about to go on to the shirts. I do prefer over them, but I think the white is slightly better for me. Often the away one, but I would go that one. I would probably put that at a 9 and the home at an 8.5 if I was going to rate them.
Oh, I'm going to give them both 10 out of 10. Perfect Aston Villa kits. The perfect Villa kits. You spoke briefly as well about Graham Taylor. What was he like to play for? What was your relationship like with him?
A bit up and down, to be fair. I mean, Graham walks in, and I think I mentioned it in the book. When Graham walks in the first day, Doug comes in. Doug comes in a big limousine, like big Bentley. Pulls up. We're all been told there's a big meeting, so we're sitting in the canteen waiting. So you can imagine loads of footballers in their kit and all that, just waiting. Graham Taylor comes in. Now I've been injured for a few months by now. He bowls through the door, and Doug says, "Gentlemen, the new manager of Aston Villa." And he goes, "Thank you, Doug. You can wait outside now." So Doug is outside, and he goes, "Right then, He says, you'll look at me and you'll say, oh, what's he ever done? Who's he ever played for? Let me tell you now, I played for Grimsby and I played for Lincoln. My career ended because of injury at 28. I took my coaching badges, blah, blah, blah. So then he started slaughtering people. There you go. Have you given your best for Aston Villa this year? And he went, yeah. He says, well, how come you've had a move lined up for Chelsea or for the last 3 months? Paul Elliott, blah, blah, blah. And he goes through them all. So I'm sitting there giggling. And then he didn't even look at me. And he just pointed. And he went, and you? He says, you're injured. He says, you're always injured. You got your socks around your ankles. You get booked more times than you score goals. You are no fucking good to me. Like, what's the point? You might as well just fuck off now. A lot of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he went, no, now. I'm like, oh, okay. But from that meeting, I'm thinking, Jesus, he's going to come in and shake everything. The idea he was going to get rid of like Andy Gray, Stainride. If I'd have been injured fit at the time, he'd probably got rid of myself as well. Because he had a meeting with every player in the club and asked their opinion on what had gone wrong. And he spoke to me about what had gone wrong in this meeting. And he said, obviously, the medical side was horrendous because I should never have been injured for as long as I was. And so I'm just talking about my injury and what's happening. And he says, do you know, he says, I had your little brother, he played for England Youth. So Graham was England Youth manager. He said, I've had him from Coventry and that England Youth, left winger, great ability, good player, lovely lad as well. He says, everybody seems to like him. They warm to him. You, on the other hand, and he never said another word. I went, so now I know this is the first meeting, we got a problem. So like the next day, I come
had you done anything?
No, I'm just injured. So this is his second day now. I pull up for treatment and I can see Steve Harrison, Graham Taylor, and Bobby Down standing outside the entrance that Villa players go in with their club suits on. And as I'm getting out of my car, Warren Aspinall's walking back towards the car. And so we used to call him George Formby because of the teeth. So I say to Forms, what's up? And he just went, good luck, carried on walking, got in his car, drove off. So I know there's problems ahead. So I start looking over the pitches on the other side. So I look over the pitches and that, and then try and work my way around the back of them to get into the dressing room door. Get to the door, and as I got my hand on the door, he goes, can I ask you a question? I went, yeah. He said, where do you live? I said, Bassett's Pole, just down the road. He went, describe your house. So there's me, 5-bedroom, like, got a sauna, got a bar, I got the foundations dug out for a swimming pool, I got this, got that. So I'm thinking he's taking an interest. So he goes, what do your neighbours think when they see you of a morning? And I went, they probably think there's Tom going off the training. And he went, no, he says, they're like a scruffy fucker. He's supposed to be going to work. Look at the state here. And I had, at the time, I had a black jacket, leather jacket, white T-shirt, jeans, and no socks and white trainers, pristine white trainers. And he went, look at you like the fucking Black Fonz. Fuck off home, get some kits on, get some proper gear, and then come back to work. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, Gaffer. Tomorrow he went, no, now. I was back home, 15 minutes, got my kit on. From that day, I knew we had a manager that was not going to stand any rubbish. He was going to make sure that we had certain standards. He made us wash our own kits. We stayed in hotel. He also said, because we got relegated, the Villa fans detested us. So we had to find a way to get back to the fans. So he made us go to functions, Q&As, go to schools. We were out. He used to call it community service. We'd do 4 hours minimum a week where you'd go to different schools, you do presentations, you do all sorts, and have to try and win games as well because we need to get back with the public. And it was like when Villa went down a couple of years ago. There was a disconnect between the fans and the players. Yeah. And Graham straight away worked out, we've got to get back on side. We started, if you look, the first few months were difficult, but once we started getting on a roll, everything went really well. I fell out with him a few times, but I was scoring goals. And then my brother passed the day. Well, we got promotion. 3 months later, my brother had passed. And I've lost my way a bit, but obviously I had different problems going on. Yeah, and, of course. And me and Greg fell out again. Then we never spoke for about 8-10 years. Walked into Warwickshire cricket ground one day to watch the 2020, and my mate went, "Oh, there's a mate of yours here." I was like, "Who's that?" He went, "Graham Taylor." I went, "See you later." I'm about to go. I had my nephew with me. I was about to go. He went, "No, just come and have a drink." Went and had a drink, and as you do, after a bit, couple of white wines and that, you gravitate towards each other. There's me. Oi, what about this then? When you did this to me at Villa, and we sat down, we thrashed it out, and we're good as gold after that ever since.
It's interesting that back then he's so aware of how important the connect with the fan base is, even sort of in that era. Actually, how much Graham Taylor knew that having a connect with the fans was going to be important on the pitch as well. And that, to have
Massively. The fans will help you in tricky times. The fans get behind you and they get you to help you do that extra 5-yard spurt or that dive for the chance at goal or block that tackle. You need the fans, and that's why it was great after a lockdown to have a restart so we could have football, because they needed something to distract the public. But now I'm getting to the point where I can't watch much more of this. I've got to have people around. I've got to have atmosphere. I've got to have noise.
Yeah.
Even heckling, you need the fans. Graham, very intelligent man. He knew there was a disconnect straight away. He found a way to get us closer to the fans, and the fans were brilliant for us. Because from say hating us at the end of that season when we got relegated, the abuse that was flying around. They have these phone-in shows. Well, I think it was just trying to think who was it. Tony Butler was doing it, and people used to ring up and just eviscerate us. But after each game, Gary Shaw would insist that we go to the first local around by Villa Park. We come back at the away game. We go in, have a pint, and fans would be like, "Oh, you're crap today," blah blah. But bit by bit, you'd get chatting with them. Now, Shaw is a Villa man, so he knew that if they get to meet you and they see you working hard, they'll give you a chance. And Graham just expanded on that, and in the end, the fans were right behind us, and everything went from strength to strength.
I think it's still the case now, isn't it? The Villa fans really, or what they want to see. I mean, yes, they want quality, but they want to see people grafting on the pitch. They want to see people.
Yeah. Well, if you work 9 to 5 when people could work before this COVID thing, if you work all the time, you pay money to go and see someone do something that you probably can't do, but you also pay money to see people work hard and defend the colours of the shirt. And so if you see people just swanning around and flicking ear and losing the ball, not chasing back, they're going to get at you. Villa fans will always respect. I mean, Des Bremner, Villa player, wouldn't you say wasn't the most gifted Villa player, worked his socks off. They'll have him all day because he has a go for the team. He defends the colours. Morley, unbelievable footballer, score goals, lazy as hell, but scores. But he's got that. He gives you the quality. But with the quality, you've also got to have people who work hard for the team, for the cause. You've got to have someone who you watch and think, I could do that. I could, say that you Stan Bowles or Jack Grealish now. He does things, and he does one or two things every game that even I go, fair play. But you can't do them. But other things you expect people to do, like Trezeguet, he'll work his socks off. So you half forgive him missing chance after chance after chance because he's all for the team.
I do respect Trezeguet. He does work hard, doesn't he? And I think he obviously, that's what you can ask of players, can't you? They can't have a great game every game, and you can't win every game, or football will be boring.
The bare minimum you expect from players, you want to see quality, you want to see ability, you want to see an organisation, team shape, bits of flair. But the one thing that they can't stop you doing, Graham Taylor said to us, and it always stuck with me, they cannot stop you running. They cannot stop you trying to make tackles. They cannot stop you defending the colours of the shirt. And he's right. We get paid. I got paid money to represent the club I love, and actually in front of an auditorium of people, giving me stick or giving me love. But I get a chance to do that. People would pay money for that. I mean, give the right arm for that. So I got a chance to do it. The very minimum I can do is run around and have a go for it.
Incredible. Well, what do you make of the current Aston Villa squad? Before we finish, what you made of our season so far?
Yeah, at the end of last season, I think we played. I was doing a radio, and we played Everton away, and it was touch and go, and we needed a couple of points to stay up. And after the Man United game at home, when somehow Fernandes got the penalty, he actually fouls Conza, but he gets the penalty.
He did.
After that, I said, I can't see us getting a goal. I can't see us winning a game. We're not organised defensively. I think we're down. They organised us defensively. We played Everton away. We drew 1-1, but our counter-attack was, I would have been quicker. So I'm thinking, well, we now got a bit of shape. We've got a chance, but we need some pace on the counter. They've looked at it, and these people ain't mugs. They've looked at what we needed, and they've brought in the right people. They brought in the likes of Watkins, who stretches teams, carries the ball the other way. Ross Barkley, when fit, a very, very talented player. Jack has just moved on to another level as well. McGinn, for me, is not the man. He shows little shades of what he has been, but he will get back to it. But as a group, we look organised. The keeper as well. I think he's gone unbelievable. Like, he makes some very, very good saves, and he's not demonstrative. He's not Jordan Pickford. He'll flick it round the post and then roll over 3 times and punch the air and beat his chest and say, "Look what I've done." Makes his saves, gets on with the game. I think he's been so calm for us and so good for us. He's been very, very good. I mean, they looked at what we needed. They brought in what we needed. We've got some results to start with. Had a little bit of a lull lately. I think we've lost 3 out of the last 4. But I think the West Ham game, we deserved to win it. It was just lapses of concentration. And the thing that bothered me was, do you see the Brighton game a couple of days ago when Brighton lad give away the penalty? Yeah. Brighton played Southampton Monday night. Now that's the same as Watkins when they give it's a foul outside the box, goes into the box. Now they give a penalty with us with Watkins. They were looking for offside. They're looking at lines, and I'm thinking, hang on a sec. And I missed it at the time because I said he's grappled him, but he's got himself free of him, right? But they're doing lines. His hands there. His hand's there because he pulled himself away from someone who's fouling him. He's fouled him into the box. So if one's a penalty, the other's a penalty.
How are they not seeing that on the replay on the VAR? How are they not seeing his hands?
But these are referees. This is their job. So like, I would say Dean Smith's done a very, very good job. He's organised this. The things we're doing wrong, because I thought last year played some good football, but we're naive and we're getting beat by being very naive at times. Now this year we're organised. We can see games through, and we're having a bit of a lull. But you look at that team; they're not going to lose too many games on a bounce. No. I think we'll be fine.
That's good to hear. That's all I sort of wanted after last season. Just a bit of chill. I'm not trying to get too high with the highs and too lows with the lows. Just compete every game and not have to stress out with relegation. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Garry, to have you on. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been amazing.
No problem.
And, enjoyed it. Guys, if you haven't already, Garry, before we go, actually, you've got a book coming out, haven't you?
Yeah,
tell us a bit quickly about the book.
Well, as you notice, I'm quite reluctant and reticent to talk about myself or anything, but there's a book that's come out. It's called Don't Believe a Word, which is homage to Phil Lynott, because I used to love Thin Lizzy and that. And it's a long story why I became a Thin Lizzy fan. But it's called Don't Believe a Word because of that. It chronicles my career from Coventry, from baby as a kid to Coventry, when I ended playing, the death of my family. But it covers everything. But there's some great stories in there. And I didn't want to do one, but I've got to say now I've read it and we've done it. I'm quite proud of what the end result is. It's been well worth it. How
long does the process take to create a book?
Bill, I did it with Bill Howell. He reckons it took all in all 20 months. But obviously COVID come in the midst of that, so we've been done a bit quicker. But it's done so very, very, very well. He's done it well. And there's loads of pictures in there as well. And they've put together a nice book. I think on the cover, it's a picture of me in the Coventry kit because they thought it was better. We have a kit that's neutral that everyone won't go. Because if it was Villa, then Albion fans wouldn't want to buy it. So they have the Coventry kit, but they've got all the other kits on it. And they've also got a 2-tone background, which obviously, because when I started playing, the specials and all that 2-tone was out. Because I was a bit of a rude boy. So it's it comes together nicely.
Oh, bro! And where can people find it if they want it? Is it out now or
it comes out? It's out today. You could get pre-order before now, but from Curtis Sports. Curtis Sports are the only ones who are doing the book at the minute. I think it will go to Amazon and all that after Christmas, but at the minute Curtis Sport are doing it. So if you type in Curtis Sports, Curtis-sports.com, then it'll come up. Or if you go on my Twitter thing, you'll see people mention it or buying the book or whatever. Or you'll see people pictures of me saying, "Get it! It's a must. Get it for Christmas and all that." But you'll be able to get the book. Picture of me in the Coventry kit.
Yeah, we'll make sure there's a link in the description below, and we'll share it for you as well. Well, thank you ever so much for coming on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No problem. Anytime, guys. Enjoy
up the Villa.
Up the Villa.
Definitely up the Villa.
Cheers. Thanks, mate.
No problem. Take it easy.
Bye.